Am I the butthole for not wanting my strict parents near my daughter? I, female 35, was raised by very strict, almost abusive parents. They'd yell at me for the smallest stuff, and sometimes even for stuff I didn't even do, simply because they were angry. They didn't beat me, but just the yelling was enough to F up with my mental health. Their behavior really gave me a lot of problems. As I grew up, I felt the need to be the one to break this cycle of abuse. I promised myself that if I ever had children, I'd make sure to raise them differently, not wanting them to keep the cycle going. Years later, I had a daughter, female 8. When she was born, I kept my promise. I raised her with the respect and care I wish I received from my parents, and thankfully my husband always supported me. I always made sure she felt safe to tell me anything. She's very polite and well-behaved, and I can clearly see that it isn't out of fear, like it used to be with me. It makes me so happy and proud to see that I really managed to break the cycle. My husband works all day, so when my daughter isn't at school and I have somewhere to go, I leave her with my parents. Ever since she was born, I always made it clear that I didn't want them to treat her like they used to treat me. They seemed to understand and to be willing to change, so I decided to give them a chance. 3 days ago, my daughter spent the afternoon with them while I went to a medical appointment. When I came back to pick her up, what I saw made me flinch. My mom, F63, was yelling at her, for no reason at all. She was extremely quiet the whole time my mom yelled, like I used to do. I didn't say anything, just picked her up and left. When I entered the car with her, she started crying. I tried to comfort him before I started driving home and asked her what exactly happened. She said she loved her grandparents, but they'd often get angry and start being rude to her for no reason, even though she was always gentle with them. And to make it worse, I asked her why she had never told me about it, and she said my parents told her not to. They were basically doing to her exactly what they used to do to me. When we got home, I explained to my husband the whole situation, and he got just as angry as me. We decided to call my mom later, after I put my daughter to sleep. I asked her why she did exactly what I told her not to, and her answer was, again, exactly what she used to say to me, I just am like that. And then, the worst thing I ever heard her say, if I don't yell, she won't learn, that's just real life. So I made a decision. I said I didn't want her nor my dad near my daughter, at least until they started changing their behavior. She said I couldn't keep them from seeing her, but I said I was just trying to protect her from having her mental health effed up by them like I had. Then I hung up. Part of me says I did the right thing, but I can't stop thinking that maybe I was too harsh. I was just trying to protect my daughter. Am I the butthole? NTA. They need to be out of her life. What are the grandparents' rights like where you live? Agreed. They're toxic to the extreme. Tell them they're no longer welcome at your home. They're not allowed to approach your daughter, and make sure the school know that they are not approved to take her out of school or anything of the sort. Just go full no contact. If they try anything, give one warning. Then it's lawyer and police report time. I would be careful with this. If original poster lives somewhere with GPR, they could go and file for visitation ASAP. I wouldn't approach them yet. Stay busy but friendly and get to a lawyer ASAP and see where you stand. You may need to move. Even if they do have GPR laws, A, they have to go through the time and effort to get them, and B, you can stand up in front of a judge and say I severed contact after I found them screaming at an 8-year-old, because that's how the real world works. Something they did when they raised me in an abusive way that I don't want my daughter to live through. That's just not good enough sometimes. Seriously, I am not joking. The USA is ridiculous. The judge makes the call. I am on a group called Parents Against Grandparents' Rights, GPR. Adults stood before a judge and told them about the abuse they suffered. And now they have to send their children to them. Some have to pay for flights and some didn't get to see their children over Christmas. There has to be ways to fight that. The US can't be that effed up, can it? Bad news, my friend. I'm not sure what it's like in all states, but I live in Ohio, and one of the reasons my partner and I got married, neither of us particularly believe in marriage, was because if I decide to have a bio child as an unmarried woman, my parents can sue for visitation. That goes away if I'm married, because apparently we can't trust adult women to make these choices on their own. Ugh, that's so gross. It's amazing how much misogyny is still on the books. This is more than misogyny, this is both so-called parents acting like monsters. And saying just the way I am means I don't want to change. That is why apologies from this type are completely meaningless. Op made a very bad mistake letting these cretins watch her child. Very bad. Please reread the comment I was replying to. No way, really? Unbelievable. Edit. Now I realize how my family friends got custody of their newborn grandson, which was always a mystery to me. Their daughter must have had an Islamic marriage only and not had it registered legally in the US, hence not had it legalized. So, they probably claimed custody per grandparents' rights since she would likely have been single under the law. Every time I think the US can't act more third world, it surprises me. Every time I think the US can't act more third world, it surprises me. An American on here told me there's a state over there where the legal age for marriage with parents' permission is 12. That's so messed up. And if the bride wants to get divorced before she's 18, she needs her parents' permission. Not the butthole, you did the right thing. Yup, sure can. Have you seen the news out of the US lately? Oh honey. I appreciate your positivity, but we are completely that effed up. And it's only getting worse. In most states, assuming USA, GPR is only available if one of the parents is absent or dead or the grandparents were the child's primary caregivers, not babysitters, for a significant period. A married couple cohabiting and co-parenting have little to worry about, unless they're in one of the few places with expanded GPR. Most GPR, grandparent rights, laws only apply when the grandparent's child has died or has no custody. Not when the grandparent's child is alive, well and involved. Your hesitancy is a result of your abusive upbringing, but keep following your instincts. Your parents need to stay away. I honestly don't think they'll change. Not the butthole. I want to double upvote this. So many people don't realize they can turn to authorities even if it's your family. It is your right and responsibility to protect your child. You are doing wonderful things for her by 1. Teaching her that her mental health matters and 2. Showing her that you will always have her back. The world needs more mothers like you. 100%, not the butthole. Just to add, you need to have a serious talk to your daughter about any adult telling them not to tell on them. If an adult says, "Don't tell mom about this," or "This is our little secret," or anything similar, she needs to know to immediately tell you or your husband. Secrets between adults and children aren't okay, and her thinking they are puts her at risk. Also, NTA. They're abusive. Not almost abusive, abusive. They actively went against your wishes as the parent, abused your daughter, and further put your daughter at risk by telling her not to tell you. They knew damn well they were in the wrong, or they wouldn't have tried to hide it. Supervised visitation only, if you're extremely generous. Personally, I'd cut contact completely. Their behavior is deplorable. Yes. Teach your daughter exactly this. It's pretty much never okay for someone to tell a little girl not to tell their parents something, unless it's something really small like a birthday gift. Tell your daughter this, that there should be no secrets between you. It's a very clear way for adults to abuse kids this way. In another thread, I saw someone was teaching this concept to their kids as secrets versus surprises. If someone asks you to keep a secret, that's something you tell a grown-up. If it's something good, gift, surprise party, etc., they call that a surprise instead. This is great. And tell them, if you're not sure if it's a secret or surprise, tell mom/dad anyway. A ruined surprise is better than a kept bad secret. I saw that too and think it's a great way to put it. With surprises you're going to tell, you're just waiting for a specific upcoming date. While secrets are something that you're never supposed to tell or not for a long time. I thought that was a good way to distinguish between the different situations. That's a great way to tell the difference between the two. This is great, thanks for sharing. It's okay to keep surprises, not secrets. They're abusive. Not almost abusive, abusive. This is what I said aloud after reading just the first sentence here. What they're doing is called misdirected rage, and it's so exceptionally harmful that it typically gets its own full chapter in books about verbal/mental abuse. You feel traumatized because you, and now your daughter, have been. Research has shown that being at the receiving end of misdirected rage produces the exact same brain activity as when we get hit over the head with a blunt object. Mom's "this is just how I am" is her telling you that she will never not be abusive, she will never stop traumatizing you both in this way. Cut contact, and do not ever leave your child alone with them again. Do you have a particular source on the effects of misdirected rage on children? I suffered from this my entire childhood, and would be very interested in reading any paper or book that touches upon it. I'm so sorry you experienced that. I first encountered this research in the works of sources cited there. I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but I've seen very little discussion of it online, and got the books from the library. Her writing is somewhat gender slanted, but still some valuable insights. Web link. Agreed, but considering how abusive they were to the op, I want to say you're the butthole. Abusers don't just change their ways because they pinky promise they'll be better. Even after the original poster witnessed her daughter being abused, she still says she'll keep them away until they change their behavior. As if all they have to do is promise again that they've changed and the op's daughter will be back at their house being abused again in no time. Newsflash, these people need to be cut out of the original poster and her daughter's life ASAP. No more promising to be better. No more babysitting. The original poster needs to tell her daughter it's not her fault, and talk to her about not keeping secrets because an adult told you to, promise to never put her in that situation again, and stick to that. Abuse victims aren't experts on abuse or what to expect from abusers. Just because original poster recognizes that what her parents did was wrong doesn't mean that it's a given for her to know that they can't and won't change. Moreover, even if it were true that she should have known, abusers are more than well known to pick their targets selectively. Hence why golden children and scapegoats are a thing. Just because they abused original poster does not mean that they were for sure going to abuse her daughter. Possibly, original poster could have been more proactive about checking in with her daughter about her parents when she wasn't around, but original poster has already said that she trusted her daughter to tell her if something bothered her, and her daughter didn't. Just because original poster didn't act perfectly doesn't make her an butthole. The buttholes here are only the grandparents, who are, still, the only ones responsible for their behavior. I completely agree, but would say everyone sucks here. The abusive grandparents are definitely buttholes too. You're the butthole means they aren't buttholes, only original poster is. I said I didn't want her nor my dad near my daughter, at least until they started changing their behavior. Said in a gentle tone, so you'll still let your parents see your daughter in the future if they show you they've changed? What's it going to take for you to realize your mom will never change? Your mom told you that's just who she is, in other words, she won't change. She didn't apologize or show remorse, and on top of that they got your daughter to lie to you. Your mom will just pretend to change and do it again. Not the butthole for protecting your daughter, but you're a little naive for trusting that your parents had changed just because they told you they wouldn't yell. In 6 years, didn't it ever occur to you to ask your daughter how your parents treated her, especially since you knew they are abusive? Please don't waver and give your parents unsupervised access to your daughter, not even if your daughter asks for it. I grew up with a monster for a mum, so if I sound too judgmental, I don't mean to be. Not the butthole, this is a good point. To think this will be a short fight or maybe next week grandma will be ready to visit again is naive. Stick to your guns, your daughter's health is the most important thing. The next time grandma gets to see her granddaughter will be when grandma is ready to apologize to her personally. And even after grandma apologizes, I wouldn't let her have any unsupervised visits. Sure, she can see her granddaughter, with a parent present to shut down any abusive behavior and kick her out if need be. Not the butthole. Not sure why grandma even gets to see her granddaughter in this line of reasoning. If you treat a child as bad as or worse than a pet, you don't get to claim them as your anymore. You lost that right and that cannot be undone. F apologies, F family, F grandma's feelings. She lost the right to be a part of this family, and she can think about that while she gets older and no one visits her. Everyone sucks here. Original poster is for sure the butthole too for not thinking her parents wouldn't do that to their daughter. This genuinely pisses me off. She put her through that even if it wasn't intentional. I know it may be painful to hear, but this post is accurate. Your parents don't seem to have any remorse for the way they treated you growing up. Why are they going to be any different now? It sounds like, if given the opportunity, they They will just try to manipulate your daughter into lying to you. Seriously. Why did original poster let her parents around her daughter to begin with? They never showed remorse for how they treated her as a child, yet she expected them to be totally different with a grandchild? Everyone sucks here except the poor kid. She may have mistakenly thought they wouldn't yell at her because they don't have to raise her and go the spoiling route. Clearly they didn't thought. These kind of family situations are so difficult. Yeah, my parents hit me and my sisters growing up. They were really young parents, and spanking is just what you did when your kids misbehaved, along with leaving babies to cry themselves to sleep. We told them when we had kids that if they wanted to watch our kids that they parent our way. My parents had no issue abiding by our rules. I could definitely see what you mentioned being the case. Most people have a raise the child, spoil the grandchild approach. So I don't think it's unreasonable for her to think that they were going to be doting grandparents. My parents were strict as hell, and our good behavior was due to fear, not because we were good kids. We were terrified of them. But I never even questioned whether or not they would go against our wishes. I just assumed they would spoil the crap out of my kids because that's what grandparents do. Giving the benefit to the op. This is how it was with my grandparents. A lot of people who were abusers once will continue to be abusers, yes. But likewise, a lot of people will change when it is their grandchildren, for a number of reasons. Both of my parents were abused as children, but those same people who abused them did not go on to continue the abuse with me. One grandparent learned from the mistakes, and the others didn't pull crap because they didn't have primary custody of me. I can't exactly fault original poster for believing her parents changed when they had promised, but now she knows that her mom doesn't care to change one bit. Abuse F's up your brain. They taught her not to question them. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.